So I was wrong. The first plate I actually made was from a very long time ago. It was from 2008. So literally 12 years ago. It's just crazy. It's actually right after the anniversary. So I wrote Shoshana, my initials MF, 4/22/08, and Tet Vav Nisan. So today's actually the 18th of Nisan. So I guess my plate anniversary was just a few days ago. This plate, again, was my first. I didn't know what type of journey I was embarking on, but this is the one. It says, Vayhu Shnehem Arumim. The two of them were naked. Ha'adam ve'ishto, the man and his wife, v'lo yishbasheshu, but they felt no shame. This quote, I don't think gets a lot of attention in Judaism. It really stood out to me because here in Judaism, it's all about covering up. I think I keep closing this up because my shirt's a little bit low cut, but modesty is everything. Women, if you're in an ultra-Orthodox community or even Orthodox, you're supposed to wear 3/4 length sleeves, skirts past the knee, sometimes with tights, shirt up to the collarbone. When I was a kid growing up, in school I had to wear skirts, and if you had your midriff showing or your shirt was too low cut, you got in trouble. So I've grown up in an environment a Jewish environment, where modesty is key for women. And yet right here in the Torah, it talks about Adam and Eve being naked and they felt no shame. And there was something so innocent and special about that to me, that at the end of the day, it's not about the clothes that we wear, it's how we wear our clothes. And how we wear our clothes is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. And to me, Adam and Eve were just so pure, and they understood who they were so much, their body didn't matter. There's this idea that their neshama, their soul, actually clothed their body. And after they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which was after this line was said, that's when it was the reverse. The body covered the soul. But there is something so caring, like these are relationship goals, that you can't go into a special relationship with somebody if you're bringing shame to the table. That whatever you think you have shame in your life on, if you're ashamed about the way you look, your income, your job, your hobbies, your values, your personality, that you can't bring that into a relationship. It just won't work. And if you could just be upfront about who you are, and you know who you are, first of all, you'll be able to find your soulmate. It's very hard to know who your soulmate is and what you're supposed to be looking for, but the more we are ourselves, everything just makes sense. Everything just clicks. And not just that, but when you are who you are and you think about your positive traits and your negative traits and you just own them, you stop caring about other people. You stop comparing yourself to other people. Think about somebody you're so envious of, or somebody you want to date and it doesn't work out. You realize it's because they're meant for somebody else. They're not meant for you. And that only can be understood once you kind of are who you are. And so this was something very powerful to me that I really, at that time in my life, wanted. I was carrying a tremendous amount of shame, whether it was my weight, whether it was relationships I was in, whether it was just my family or parts of my life. I was carrying like hundreds of pounds of shame. And all I wanted to do was eliminate it, and I didn't know how. And this was, I guess, my first step to facing all the shame in my life without having to list all the things that I was dealing with, but kind of like an overview macro vision of what was really happening. So this is actually a famous painting, but I always take something that maybe is known or is already been done and change it up a bit. So I painted a woman who's obviously naked, right? And she's just kind of looking from behind, almost as like she's trying to figure out who she is. She's trying to feel out what her body and maybe who she is emotionally or physically. She's definitely not perfect in terms of what society would deem a perfect body. Her upper body is a little bit small, but her lower body is a little bit heavy. but it doesn't matter, right? Like, she doesn't have the picture perfect body. She's trying to figure out herself. It's not her comparing herself to anybody else. Now, you would think that this is her arm, and I just made it really, really, really big and disproportionate to her arm up here. But if you look closely, this is not her arm. This is actually the husband or the significant other, or you could say Adam and Eve. And he's leaning on her perfectly, because it doesn't make a difference what she is perfect to him, and he's leaning on her for support. And so whatever things that she might struggle with, or whatever things she might have that are great, it just matches up. And this is a relationship. When two people can come together, realize how they can help one another and be there for one another perfectly and support each other. And whatever shame she might have or she could have had, he didn't matter to him. He just wanted to be close to her. So I also, to try and be symbolic of nakedness, chose colors that kind of are very plain, like nude, white, black, red, very basic, I would even say primal colors. This play was the beginning of a very long journey for me, and I actually haven't really spent a lot of time even analyzing it in years, but looking back, I am so proud of what I started, and to think now that I have 13 of these and it's going to keep growing brings me so much pride. And I can say that most of my shame is eliminated. I still have a little bit left, like everybody does, but when I look at this and I think about what I was trying to teach myself back in 2008, it was that there is no room for shame in your life, and the only person that can take that away really is yourself. And that's the most essential thing. And when you can eliminate shame and be vulnerable and expose yourself, that's the highest level. And I would make the argument that being shameful is the opposite of being modest. And so, yes, we have to cover up and we have to respect our body, and there's many ways to honor our body. But if you're holding on to shame, I don't think any clothes that you wear will make a difference. So that's the first step of ridding yourself of shame in your life, and then reclothing yourself with honor, with respect, and with dignity. So thank you for looking at plate number 1, and I'm excited to continue showcasing all of the different plates and ideas that I have created thus far.